Hey, my name is Leanne, and I'm fascinated with helping women navigate how to eat, move, and care for their bodies. This has taken me on a journey from vegan, keto, high protein to everything in between. I'm a small town holistic nutritionist turned 3-time international bestselling author turned functional medicine practitioner, offering telemedicine services around the globe to women looking to better their health and stop second-guessing themselves. I'm here to teach you how to wade through the wellness noise to get to the good stuff that'll help you achieve your goals. Whether you're seeking relief from chronic ailments, striving for peak performance, or simply eager to live a more vibrant life, this podcast is your go-to resource for actionable advice and inspiration. Together, we'll uncover the interconnectedness of nutrition, movement, sleep, stress management, and mindset, empowering you to make informed choices that support your unique health journey. Think of it as quality time with your bestie mixed with a little med school so you're empowered at your next doctor visit. Get ready to be challenged and encouraged while you learn about your body and how to care for it healthfully. Join me as we embrace vitality, reclaim our innate potential, and discover what it truly means to pursue healthfulness. I feel like I'm on a kick of choosing controversial topics. Last week we did nicotine. This week we're doing sunshine. Welcome back. Welcome back. Okay, let me ask you something. Is sunlight your secret health weapon, or do you avoid it like the plague? For decades, we've been told to fear the sun and cover up and slather on sunscreen and stay indoors between like 10 and what did I see? 10 and 4? 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. But I feel like lately there's been this massive shift in the conversation, especially in like the wellness and science communities, like the people that are willing to ask the hard questions, not the dermatologists who constantly say, I don't ever go in the sun and look at all the sunscreens. Like, no, people are waking up to the idea that sunlight might not be as unsafe as we thought it was. And it's actually essential to our health. In fact, Kevin, my husband, is on this huge kick of studying vitamin D. And every time he comes into my office, he's like, guess what? Vitamin D, blah, 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 blah. And it's all about sunshine. And I just love it. So today we're diving into the most misunderstood health topic out there. And that's got to be sun exposure. Like that has to be sun exposure. Every time I go to the dermatologist once a year just for a, checkup. And I think everyone should, just to check your skin and make sure you're good. I've never had any issues, thank God. And they always say, wow, you must wear so much sunscreen. Your skin is perfect. I'm like, nope, I do not. And they're like, well, then you don't go outside in the sun. I'm like, nope, I'm in the sun all the time. The sun and I are besties. So we're going to be talking about how this works, why, all the things. We're going to cover big questions like, can morning and evening light actually boost your health and your sleep and your metabolism and your mood? Like, what's the real story about vitamin D? I have a bunch of thoughts about vitamin D. And most importantly, like, does sun exposure cause cancer? Or is that only true under certain circumstances? So this episode is, I'm going to attempt to separate myths from facts and fear from function. We're going to explore the science behind circadian rhythm and how morning light actually helps to reset your biological clock. We'll talk about how natural light influences your hormones, your energy, your skin, even your immune system. And tackle the big scary C word, cancer, and what types of sun exposure increase your risk and how you can really protect yourself without avoiding the sun altogether, which a lot of people do. And I hope by the end of the episode, if you're willing to stay with me for this conversation and you're not angry, I feel like this conversation causes a lot of anger. Yeah, I hope that you'll have a completely different perspective on light and timing and how to interact with the outdoors. So whether you're a sun worshiper like me, or a skincare minimalist, or somebody who's curious if like a 10-minute morning walk could actually change your life, I hope that this episode will deliver what you're looking for. So let's get into it. Where do we start? I think the best place to start is to tell you that your body is wired to respond to light, and not just any light. It's specific natural sunlight. And the time of day that you get that light actually makes a difference. So You probably heard about the circadian rhythm. It's basically your internal 24-hour clock that regulates everything from your sleep to your digestion to your mood and hormone levels. That's why when you fly to Europe and you're off by 6 to 8 hours, you're like, what is even happening? I'm getting up in the middle of the night for a bowel movement. Normally I have this in the afternoon. Like, it's just all over the place. And what many people don't realize is that this clock needs to be set every day. Okay? Every day. And the most powerful way to set this clock is natural sunlight in the morning. So when light, especially blue light from the sun, hits the cells of the retina of your eye, even though your eye could be closed, your eyelids are like covering your eye, it will still send this signal straight to your brain. It's like this, what is it called? The suprachiasmatic? Is that what it is? It's like a nucleus. And that's your body's master clock. So from there, this kind of like sets off a complete cascade. Your body then knows it's morning. Your cortisol rises naturally. It's not in a stress response kind of way. It's just like a healthy, let's go. It's morning time. Your metabolism begins to shift from rest to activity. And the most important piece is that it sets a timer for melatonin, your sleep hormone, to be released about 14 to 16 hours later. So it's like sun hits eyes, body's told it's morning, cortisol says, let's go. Your metabolism's like, I'm hungry. And then it sets an alarm for melatonin about 14 to 16 hours to have you reset. So if you don't get that sunlight, you're not going to get all this other stuff that's happening. So this little ritual of stepping outside and turning your face to the morning light for just 10 minutes could be the single best non-supplement sleep strategy that you're not using. So I go for a walk every morning and I have to remind myself to like carry my sunglasses, but bring my other glasses and wear them for the first little bit of my walk. And it's crazy. On days where I am like, oh shoot, I put my sunglasses on again, my hunger is not triggered on the walk. But when I walk with my glasses off and the sun, it's like 7 a.m. So the sun's coming into my eyes, I start to get hungry on my walk and I do sleep better on those days. So it doesn't just stop at sleep. Like, morning sunlight also plays a direct role in your mental health. So last week we were talking about, wouldn't it be great if there was a compound that like could improve your mental health, and dopamine, serotonin. We were talking about nicotine and its impact. Exposure to natural light stimulates dopamine and serotonin. It stimulates dopamine and serotonin production in the brain. And these are your pleasure and mood regulating neurotransmitters. So that's the part of why being outside in the morning can feel so energizing and grounding at the same time. So when we skip this daily dose of sunlight magic, we can feel groggy, foggy, emotionally flat, just not ready for our day. So if you've ever noticed like how your mood dips during the winter, have you ever noticed that? Or like after several gray days in a row and you're like, when is the sun ever going to come out? That's not just the weather being dreary. That's like your brain craving light, especially if you're someone that's prone to anxiety or depression. Like, that early sun exposure can be an absolute game changer for you. 10 minutes, that's all. So let's go to immune, like just immune piece. Moderate sun exposure, especially in the early morning or late afternoon, can actually help regulate your immune system and lower chronic inflammation. So sunlight helps modulate the activity of certain immune cells, which are part of why somebody with like an autoimmune condition seems to flare less in sunnier seasons. Yeah, I've seen this so often in my practice. Individuals with autoimmune feel so great in the summer and then everything's triggered in the fall. And that's because there's evidence suggesting that moderate UV exposure may increase the production of T regulatory cells, which are critical in immune tolerance, especially helping the immune system like chill out when it's getting a little bit too fired up. So if you have an undiagnosed autoimmune condition or you're dealing with autoimmune, like getting out in the sun and spending time in the sun actually helps. Intuitively, when I'm sick, all I want to do is bask in the sun and literally reset my immune system. Do you have that feeling too? Like I get sick not very often, but when I do, I'm like, oh man, I just need to go to Mexico and lay on a beach. Inflammation is at the root of nearly every single chronic condition, and we're all reaching for the supplement to get us better without thinking about the sun. Just a few minutes outside daily helps to lower your baseline inflammation, and that's pretty compelling. That's a pretty compelling reason, at least for me. And yeah, sunlight even touches your metabolic and heart health overall. So UV rays from the sun, when they hit your skin, your body releases nitric oxide, and this is a molecule that helps relax blood vessels. And that can help lead to lower blood pressure, improved circulation, and that natural dilation of blood vessels can be especially helpful for people with hypertension or even people that want a performance edge when they're working out. It can be quite helpful. So some studies actually linked regular sun exposure to reduced cardiovascular mortality, not from like tanning or burning. That's not what we're talking about here, but from short, consistent daily exposure, especially at the edges of the day. Now, I'm going to share a personal story. Like a few years ago, I was in a season of deep burnout. Like I wasn't sleeping well. I was anxious in the mornings. My energy would crash in mid-afternoon. Like I was feeling disconnected from like everything. We were going through a lot in our lives, and I kept adjusting my supplements and cutting caffeine and like trying to work on calming my mind, and like you name it, I did it and nothing stuck. And then I was like, wait, I haven't been in the sun. Like I'm not outside. I've been working so much. I'm not outside. I'm on my screens. When I am outside, I'm wearing my sunglasses. Just what about just using nature? It's so simple. It's almost insulting. Like, what's your big fix? I went out in the sun. But I did it. And within a week, I started sleeping better. My anxiety dropped in the morning. I didn't need that like boost of energy in the afternoon. It's like a subtle thing, but a huge change. And I started feeling better again. And that's when I realized, I'm like, I cannot make this mistake again. I cannot forget that I need daily light time. Daily. And evening light, that's something that a lot of us get in the groove of, just like coming home, making dinner, watching a show. Let's not forget the evening light, that like soft golden hour. Oh, that light is so important. It tells the body, hey, the day is winding down. It really prepares you for rest. And I saw this so much when we lived on the boat. We were outside all the time and hours and hours and hours and hours. And we would always watch the sunset. And man, those were the best sleeps. They were the best sleeps. And where morning sun triggers your cortisol and wakefulness, the evening sun starts that melatonin alarm and supports deeper and more restful sleep. Even a short walk outside before or after dinner can help reinforce that pattern. Like we eat usually around 7 p.m. and then we go for a walk as the sun is setting. And it's my favorite. So yeah, sunlight isn't just about tanning or vacations. It's like a biological tool. And the best thing is it's free and it's accessible and it's powerful. So if you're struggling with energy or mood or hormones or sleep, like I would say start with light, like before caffeine, before blue light blockers, before like any expensive treatment, just like go outside. So let's shift into like the science of how sunlight actually works, UV rays, vitamin D, how light travels, all that fun stuff. So we've covered the incredible benefits of morning and evening light. So let's deep into like, what is sunlight doing in the body? Because sunlight isn't just light. It's also made up of different types of radiation, and each one affects us in a different way. So some are helpful, some can be harmful, and understanding the difference is really important. So when sunlight hits your skin, it's a mix of UVA, UVB, visible light, and infrared light. So let's break down each of these ones. UVA makes up about 95% of the UV radiation that hits the earth. It penetrates like deep into the skin. And while it doesn't cause sunburn, it does contribute to skin aging and DNA damage if you have oxidation in your body. So UVA is also present year-round, even on cloudy days or through windows, it can happen. UVB is the one associated with sunburns. But it also does a crucial job, and it's the primary wavelength responsible for vitamin D production. So your skin uses UVB to convert cholesterol into vitamin D, which then goes on to support your bone health, immune function, mood regulation. This is why it's important to have enough cholesterol in your body, because without the cholesterol, the vitamin D can't be used, and then your bones, your immune, your mood, everything struggles. Then we have the visible light, which is blue light, and that stimulates the retina and signals your brain that it's daytime. And this is incredibly important for the circadian rhythm regulation. This is your body's way of knowing when it's time to wake and eat and sleep and prepare. Fun story. I am so sensitive to the changes of blue light that when I wear blue light blocking prescription glasses, I will fall asleep. I got these prescription glasses like 8 years ago, and I was so excited because they block blue light. And I had been wearing them for like 2 to 3 days, and I was tired. I thought there was something wrong with me. I would put them on in the morning. I'd feel fine for like 20 minutes. And I'd be like, oh, I'm sleepy. And I'd be sleepy all day. Like, what is going on? What is going on? And I was driving from my friend's home in Edmonton, Alberta, back home to Calgary. And I was wearing the glasses and I was falling asleep. I'm like, wait, is it the glasses? Sure enough, took them off for 20 minutes, felt fine. So yeah, the blue light really stimulates the retina and signals your brain it's daytime. If you have blue light blocking prescription glasses and you're always tired, it could be your glasses. If I just changed your world right now, I want to hear about it. Go on Instagram at Leanne Vogel and tell me how this has changed you, because nobody talks about this. And when I mention this to, like, when I go to get new glasses, they're like, oh, it comes with blue light blocking. I'm like, absolutely not. Take it off there. They're like, I can't actually. It comes. I'm like, then I will find another place. I cannot have blue light blocking glasses. They're like, why? It's so great for you. I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. And they're like, what do you mean? That doesn't make any sense. I'm like, you're an eye doctor. You have to know that that makes sense. But let's think of sunlight as like a whole body message. Like, hey, it's morning, time to get moving, digest food, regulate hormones. But here's the nuance. The time of day, the angle of the sun, even your latitude affects how much UVB you actually receive. So UVB is the one that creates the sunburns and the vitamin D production. So in early morning and late evening, UVB is virtually zero, but visible light, especially blue light, is still present. So that's why even low angle morning light can be so helpful without increasing like the UVB concerns. So vitamin D, let's talk about it. So unlike most nutrients, your body doesn't rely primarily on food to get vitamin D. You actually make vitamin D in your skin when UVB radiation from the sun hits the surface. So this process depends on the amount of skin exposed, your skin tone. So like darker skins need more sun to synthesize the same amount. And in fact, some individuals will not synthesize any vitamin D based on their skin tone, and that's a huge concern. Your geographic location will affect this process, the time of day that you're in the sun, and even the season. So like in the winter, UVB rays are often too weak in the northern latitudes to trigger meaningful vitamin D production because of the angle of the sun. So that's why getting mid-morning to midday sun, even just a few times a week, is so important if you want to build and maintain healthy vitamin D levels naturally. So these people completely avoiding the sun, and then their vitamin D is low, and then they're over supplementing with vitamin D that's blowing through their magnesium and causing issues. Like, I'm so tired of this pattern, and it's so avoidable. So supplements can help, but they don't deliver the full photochemical cascade that your body experiences when actual sunlight hits your skin. So again, it's not about getting tanned or burned. It's about moderate, smart exposure to a fuel, that's a natural process that supports your bones, your brain, your hormones, your immune system, your cognitive function. Did you know that around 90% of your body's energy is produced by the mitochondria, these tiny engines inside of every cell? But as we age, mitochondrial function declines, energy drops, and muscle strength fades. Even skin resilience takes a hit. That's where Timeline Nutrition comes in. They've developed MitoPure, a highly pure, patented form of urolithin A, a postbiotic nutrient that activates a process called mitophagy. This is your body's natural way of recycling damaged mitochondria, renewing cellular energy from the inside out. Clinical trials show that MitoPure can increase muscle strength, boost cellular energy, and support skin health, all by targeting the root of aging, your cells. Now, for the first time ever, you can try Timeline with an exclusive 20% off your first order. Go to timeline.com/KDP and use the code KDP at checkout. That's timeline.com/KDP for 20% off your first order. So let's circle back to blue light, because this is where blue light is so fascinating. So blue light from the sun is strongest in the morning hours when it enters your eyes, again, through indirect exposure, not like staring directly at the sun. It just tells your brain, time to suppress melatonin and raise cortisol. So that morning blue light actually boosts your alertness, your focus, increases dopamine, helps regulate your appetite, starts the countdown to a healthy sleep. So let's flip it to evening. And then the sky goes to that like warmer tones of like red and orange wavelengths. That's lower energy, longer wavelengths that signal a wind down. So this red, like shifted light doesn't suppress melatonin. And that's why evening sunlight exposure is like incredibly gentle on your circadian rhythm and supports a smooth transition into rest. This is also why we don't want to be watching TV or being on our phones, because blue light will affect our ability to stay alert, right? So just like in the morning, when we expose ourselves to the blue light, it increases cortisol, gets our appetite going. We're ready for the day. So what happens at 9 p.m., maybe you've gone for that evening walk. You come home, you turn on the TV. You're like undoing what you just did on the walk for your light. And this natural light progression from blue in the morning to amber to darkness, this is what your biology expects. So if we're twisting this around, we're confusing our brains, and this leads to sleep issues, fatigue, hormone dysregulation, even metabolic changes over time. So honoring these natural light cues can recalibrate your whole system in a really profound way. So let's quickly touch on red light and near infrared light. So these are wavelengths that are found in sunlight, especially at sunrise and sunset, and they penetrate deeper into the body. They're not like UV rays, which mostly affect the skin surface. So red and near infrared light have been studied for tissue repair, mitochondrial support, muscle recovery, even skin rejuvenation. So that's a part of why red light therapy devices have exploded in popularity. But remember, like sunrise and sunset light is rich in these wavelengths and it's free. So if you're dealing with inflammation and joint pain, or you want to support cellular health, 10 to 15 minutes outside during sunrise or sunset could be like a very natural way to benefit on this spectrum without spending, what did I see the other day? Like $2,000 on a red light box when they were not popular and nobody knew about them. Those same boxes were $300. These companies, it's crazy. They're charging us $2,000 for literal sunlight. So now we need to address the whole sun situation. So don't stare directly at the sun, not at sunrise, not at sunset, not ever. Like there's this movement out there promoting sun gazing as a form of spiritual health activation. I'm all for like tuning into nature, but like the risk of permanent eye damage is like very real. So you won't catch me staring at the sun. However, when I was really woo-woo, I definitely did do this a couple times in like Sphinx pose, thinking it was going to activate some, I don't know, wacky thing inside of me. I don't know. Simply being outside with your eyes open, looking ahead of you, looking around at the environment, trying to find the bird that's making a noise. That'll help your brain register light. You do not need to stare at the sun. Just get outside, let nature do the rest. So we got to talk about this. Does sun exposure cause cancer? Like that's probably the biggest question and definitely on a lot of people's minds as we talk about sunlight. So it's a valid concern, and it's one that's shaped public health campaigns for decades. And you've probably heard like slip, slop, slap for like did you ever see that ad, slip, slop, slap for, I still laugh about it, for sunscreen, or like stay out of the sun, or UV rays equals danger. And while it's true that unprotected, excessive sun exposure, like those people at the beach and they're like smoking, they have their, I'm in Florida right now, so they're like smoking and they have their like bottle of water, but it's like obviously some sort of alcoholic beverage, and they're slathering oil on them and they're brown as can be, like just toasted, just roasted. Unprotected, like excessive sun exposure, especially the kind that leads to burning, can increase your risk of skin cancer. Like the story isn't quite that black and white, and I feel like that's been pushed to us. And so let's just go through it, and you can just think about it in all things. So there are 3 primary types of skin cancer. We have the basal cell carcinoma. This is probably the most common, I think. And it usually grows slowly, and it's rarely life-threatening because it can cause tissue damage if not treated. It can cause like a good amount of tissue damage. Then we have the squamous cell carcinoma. So this is slightly more aggressive. It's still treatable when caught early, but it can spread deeper if ignored. And then there's the melanoma, and this is the serious one. It's much less common, but it's far more deadly because it can spread to other parts of the body. So melanoma is also the type commonly associated with intermittent, intense sun exposure. Like you go on vacation. Okay, the great example, because I'm Canadian. We are not in the sun for 360 days of the year. And then we decide to go on a cruise and get burnt, just roasted. That sort of intense sun exposure that's intermittent, that's the concern. Rather than a daily low-level exposure, it's the blasting of the intense sun exposure. So how does all this happen? What's happening? It comes down to UV radiation, especially the UVA, UVB rays. So when these rays hit the skin, they can penetrate into the cells and damage DNA. So this leads to mutations. Normally, your body has repair mechanisms to fix that, but repeated or intense exposure, those repair systems can become overwhelmed, especially when our oxidation is super high. So if those DNA mutations affect the genes that control cell growth, that's when skin cells start to grow like out of control and cancer can develop. So what's especially quote unquote risky is midday sun when the UVB rays are the strongest. And that's usually between 10 and 2, depending on where you live. But like I say this because I want to be cautious, but myself personally, at least 3 times a week, I'm in the sun for at least 15 to 30 minutes, one side, flip over, the other side, and then go inside. And my skin is great. It's great. So there's a little bit of a nuance because not everyone has the same risk when it comes to sun-related damage. So let's talk about what increases your risk. So fair skin is a risk. Now, I have quite fair skin, but living in the tropics now for almost 10 years, it's definitely changed over time. So the less melanin you have, the less natural protection that you'll have from UV rays. So people with very light skin, red or blonde hair, freckles, they're going to be more vulnerable to DNA damage from sun exposure than others. Genetics will also play a role. So if you have a family history of melanoma or other skin cancers, it can increase your risk. If you have a history of sunburns, like especially blistering sunburns like in your childhood or adolescence, these early exposures seem to have a long-lasting impact. Fun story, which I'm still like quite salty about because I'll just tell you the story. So we were all traveling as a family, my sister and I and my mom and my dad. I think I was 13, so Christina was 10, and we went to Maine. And we went to the beach and it was very hot. I wasn't used to the Maine sun. This is the first vacation we'd ever been on because we didn't go on vacations. This was the first plane ride I ever went on in my entire life. And I fell asleep in the sun. And my parents had told me a couple times, like, cover up. And I'm like, no, I'll be fine. And I fell asleep. And they were just like, well, she didn't listen, so we're just going to leave her there. I have never had such a terrible sunburn in my entire life. It was blistered. It was so painful. And yeah, that sucked. Cumulative exposure. While short, non-burning exposure is generally safe. Decades of chronic sun exposure, especially without protection, could perhaps add up. So we need to be smart about sun. Like, I feel like I'm pretty smart about it. I go in the morning and the evening without protection. During the day, probably 3 days a week if I can. Sometimes it ends up being 2. I'll go outside and do like the little cook and bake, like 15 minutes, 15 to 30 minutes aside. When it's summertime, like if we're in Florida and it's summertime, I last like 10 minutes. It's so hot and you can tell, I can feel it. And oftentimes if you've been in the sun long enough, you know when it's too much. So here's the big distinction that I really want to drive home. There's like a major difference between chronic low level sun exposure and acute intense burning. So getting a few minutes of sunlight daily, especially in the morning or late afternoon or during the day, even if you're responsible with it, it's not the same as lying on the beach at noon with baby oil and no sunscreen. So it's not just about how much sun you get, it's also when you get it, how your skin responds to it, and whether you're supporting your body's repair mechanisms with hydration, antioxidants, protective clothing. Like I have a couple of SPF shirts that I absolutely love. And of course I use them. Like, of course I do. I don't want a sunburn. So if we are going to the beach, I will wear my UV shirts and I'll swim in my UV shirts. And if we're at Disney or we're going for a hike, you bet I'm going to wear those because that kind of exposure ongoing, absolutely not. Controlled environment where I'm doing 15 to 30 minutes aside a couple times a week is very different from going on a hike without coverage. I would never do that. In fact, some studies suggest that people who get regular non-burning exposure to the sun may have lower rates of melanoma than those who completely avoid the sun and then get the occasional intense exposure. Like I haven't had a sunburn, I think, since I was 13. Like that, I don't recall a time where I'm like, ooh, I overdid the sun. That really smartened me up and made me, watch for it. So avoiding the sun entirely and then getting scorched on vacation, that's the risky combo. That's what we want to avoid. Pepti Strong is a clinically studied complex of peptides derived from Vesica faba, chosen for their ability to activate mTOR and inhibit muscle degradation. These peptides, which have a really long name, we'll go through it. It's HLP-SYS, PSPQ, and TIKIPAGT, have been shown in human and animal studies to increase protein synthesis, reduce TNF-alpha, and preserve lean mass during inactivity. Now, most women over the age of 40 lose 1 to 2% of muscle per year, which accelerates metabolic slowdown, insulin resistance, and bone loss. Fit intervenes here, not by supplying more protein, but by turning on the body's muscle building machinery. Carolyn, age 43, writes, within 3 weeks, I noticed better strength recovery and less muscle soreness, especially before my period, when I'm usually weaker. You don't have to accept muscle loss as being inevitable. Take control of your strength and longevity by going to healthfulpursuit.com/make. You can grab Fit today and subscription save 10% on ongoing orders. And after your third order through my link, you get 20% off ongoing and you can cancel anytime. Again, that's healthfulpursuit.com/make. So let's talk about briefly how culture has really shaped our fear of sunlight. Like in many Western countries, we've been taught to see the sun as a threat. Like sunscreen commercials, dermatology PSAs. Like I follow a couple dermatologists on Instagram and I can't even believe the stuff that they say. Even childhood lessons are pushed with a single message of like, stay out of the sun. It's dangerous. And I think while those messages did help reduce skin cancer and increase skin cancer awareness, they also really swung the pendulum, I think, a little bit too far. And now many people avoid sunlight entirely, live mostly indoors, and miss out on like the benefits of safe exposure, like better sleep, stronger bones, improved mood, reduced chronic inflammation. And I know I know this is a sensitive topic, and that's why I said, if you're here until the end, you're not angry with me. Like I fully know that there are going to be messages, like there are going to be messages in my DMs saying that this isn't like, I'm not being responsible. But many like people in many other parts of the world get daily sun exposure as part of their lifestyle, and their skin cancer rates aren't always higher, especially when sun exposure is steady, respectful, and not excessive. So I think the key is balance and not fear. And we can and we should protect ourselves from overexposure, just like I wear my UV shirts. And during peak hours, I am careful about the time that I spend outdoors and trying to keep it in a controlled way. But we also need to recognize that sun is a vital source of life and health. In fact, a friend recently said, "Why do you think I got Hashimoto's?" I'm like, you're never in the sun. You're never outside. It's not about eliminating sun. It's about getting to know it, understanding how your body responds to it, and then using it wisely. So yeah, sun exposure can increase your cancer risk, but that risk is tied to intensity, frequency, skin type, not the sun itself being inherently bad. So when we get to learn how to work with the sun rather than hiding from it, I think that's when we unlock a totally different relationship with our health, our energy, our mood, and nature in general. So let's talk about how we get that balance just right. And I'll walk you through some practical ways to enjoy the sunlight safely and get the benefits without burning. So you can build like a light routine that works for your goals and your lifestyle, and it's free. So how do we actually get sunlight safely? Like without the fear, without the chemicals, without the burning. Like I said, I do not wear sunscreen. I have a mineral sunscreen that I wear on my face, like on my cheeks and my nose when I go for a walk on the beach, because I often get like redness on that area. Everywhere else is fine, but my face is a little bit more sensitive. Because like, let's be real. Most of us have been conditioned to believe that sun is danger. Sun equals danger. And if we don't slather on our SPF 50 before we even look outside and wear our sunglasses, we're going to damage our skin forever. But the narrative really leaves out a very important truth that we were made for sun, just like plants and photosynthesis. So our ancestors didn't use sunscreen. They didn't hide indoors, and they lived in rhythm with the light and developed a deep body awareness and used practical strategies to protect themselves naturally. So I want to kind of go through what this could look like for your schedule. So the safest and most beneficial times to be in the sun are early morning and late afternoon to evening. So this is when the UV index is low, but the light quality is rich with like these wavelengths that your body loves. Remember, we have the blue light for waking up and the red for remember we have the blue light for waking up and the red and infrared for cellular healing. So just enough UVB during the mid-morning for some like light vitamin D productions in many regions, depending on where you're at. So here's the protocol. This is what I personally do. So step outside within 30 minutes of waking. I do this. I wake up, brush my teeth, wash my face, get the dog, and go outside. For the first walk, because now I have 2 dogs, for the first walk, I don't wear my sunglasses, and the walk is about 20 minutes. Then I come home, I grab the second dog, and then I grab my sunglasses, and I go out for another 20-minute walk. So we want to spend 5 to 30 minutes outside, depending on your skin tone and comfort, especially at the beginning of the day. You shouldn't have to worry about it too much. Let the sun touch your eyes and your skin. That means no sunglasses, no hats over the face, no sunscreen. So you're not staring at the sun. You're just looking around in your environment, letting the natural light hit your retina and your skin. And that's all it takes to reset your circadian clock. That's it. That's all it takes to boost neurotransmitters and activate your body's light response systems. And if you can, expose large surfaces, like wear shorts and a tank top, even your torso. Like if you don't have an ability to walk, go in your backyard and wear your underwear and your bra. Nobody will see you. The more skin, the more light signal that your body receives. And this is especially important for vitamin D and hormone regulation. And that's why I go out in the sun in the midday, because that's when you're going to generate the most vitamin D. and regulate your hormones the most, because that is required for all hormone productions. So then we have, using timing and tools as opposed to like loading our bodies full of chemicals. So instead of blocking UV with synthetic sunscreen, just use time as your protection. And if you can't use time, I have some tips. So your body gives you natural warning signs when it's had enough in the sun. Like your skin starts to feel hot. You instinctively want to get out of the sun. You have a subtle like tightness or tingling sensation, or I kind of feel like tightness in my chest where I'm like, okay, I've had enough. That's my signal. I'm done. This is like midday, like between 12 and 3 or 11 and 3, 11 and 2, that sort of area. I would start small, like 5 to 10 minutes, especially if you're fair skinned or you haven't had much sun. You have to gradually work your way up as the skin builds its own resilience through creating more melanin. So think of it like strength training for your skin. Like you wouldn't go to the gym and deadlift 400 pounds your first day. So the same thing goes here. You have to train your skin gradually and it becomes more capable over time. So I know that when we started traveling through the Caribbean, I was terrified of the sun because I was like, if I go out there, I'm going to get burnt. So I wore more and more protection like UV shirts and shorts and going out at certain times of the day until I built up more melanin and now I can handle it a lot better. So if you're going to go outside in those peak hours, you need to control your environment. If you're going out for that 5 to 10 minute strength training as you build up melanin, cool, then you can go inside. If you don't have that capability, like you're going for a walk with a friend or you have to be outside for work, then you want to use shade, like light long sleeve clothing, breaks from direct sun, a really good hat, sunglasses, UV shirt, etc. So you don't need chemicals to stay safe. You need rhythm, awareness, and trust in your body to feel those signals out. You definitely want to consider your skin type and your heritage and your geography. So not all skin responds to the sun in the same way. So if you're fair skinned with like Northern European ancestry, you might need less sun to get the benefits and you'll reach your burn threshold faster, especially if you're not used to the sun. So I would stick to like shorter sessions, lower UV windows, and build up gradually. Now, if you're darker skinned, you have way more natural protection thanks to melanin, but you also need more sun exposure to trigger vitamin D production. So that means longer and more frequent time in the sun is often necessary. It's really interesting because when, like, I'm very fair skinned. If you look at pictures of me, I'm literally clear. And now that we've been in the tropics for 10 years, I need a significant, I can tell I need more sun exposure to keep my vitamin D levels good. And your geography really matters. Like if you're living at higher altitudes or in a city with lots of cloud cover, you may only get meaningful UVB exposure for a part of the year. So that's where being intentional about your time outdoors is absolutely essential for your plan. Even if it's like 15 minutes around like solar noon, quote unquote solar noon, a few times a week, it can make a huge difference for your vitamin D levels without risking burns. You do not need much. A fair skinned person will need far less than a darker skinned person to create the same amount of vitamin D. And I really want you to like think of the most important part, which is you don't need to fear the sun. You need to build a relationship to it. So that means getting outside daily in those peak hours, like the morning time, the evening time, paying attention to your skin, your energy, your intuition, using covering and timing instead of chemical barriers, and letting your body tell you when it's had enough. So when you do burn, which may happen from time to time, you don't need to totally panic. There's some great tools for that. Although I try to avoid this, like aloe vera gel, coconut oil, tallow, antioxidant rich foods can help your skin recover. But we need to learn what our maximum is, just like when we're strength training, and what's possible and where we're at, so we can develop a plan. Because the plan should, just like working out. Oh, I went to the gym and I got really sore. I'm never going to do deadlifts again. What? But moving your body is good. This is exactly the same as the sun. We just need to know how to move our body correctly at the gym so we don't hurt ourselves. It's the same thing with the sun. So I would say totally skip the chemical sunscreens. Let's skip the fear campaigns. Instead, let's step outside, connect with nature, live in the rhythms of light and dark. At least get out in the morning and the evening, because that can do so much benefit. So let's kind of come back to where we started. Like, is sunlight your secret health weapon or your greatest risk? Like, after everything that we've covered, and I kind of bounced around, thanks for hanging out with me, talked about the benefits, the biology, myths, mainstream fears. It's clear that sunlight isn't something to avoid. It's something to make a part of your routine. Your body is wired for light. Your hormones, sleep, mood, immune system, they all respond to the daily rhythm of the sun. So we've been taught to fear the very thing that grounds us in nature. And we've replaced sunlight with artificial light, movement with stagnation, and intuition with industry-driven fear. So I hope that today's episode, if you made it to the end and it didn't make you angry, that you feel free to create your own rhythm that works for you within the limits of your body. It takes presence and a willingness to literally step outside, but start small. Get out in the morning, let the light hit your face, walk after dinner, soak up that amber glow, let your skin see air outside, let it see the sky. And when it's time to protect, use shade, clothing, awareness, not just chemicals or absolute avoidance. So I hope this episode resonated with you. It was a request of a bunch of you, and that I shared something that was beneficial. And we'll see you back here next week for another episode. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Healthful Pursuit Podcast. Join us next Tuesday for another episode of the show. If you're looking for free resources, there are a couple of places you can go. The first, to my blog, healthfulpursuit.com, where you're going to find loads of recipes. The second is a free parasite protocol that I've put together for you that outlines symptoms, testing, and resources to determine whether or not you have a parasite, plus a full protocol to follow to eradicate them from your life if you need to. That's available at healthfulpursuit.com/parasites. And last but certainly not least, a full list of blood work markers to ask your doctor for so that you can get a full picture of your health. You can grab that free resource by going to healthfulpursuit.com/labs. The Healthful Pursuit Podcast, including show notes and links, provides information in respect to healthy living, recipes, nutrition, and diet, and is intended for informational purposes only. The information provided is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor is it to be construed as such. We cannot guarantee that the information provided on the Healthful Pursuit Podcast reflects the most up-to-date medical research. Information is provided without any representation or warranties of any kind. Please consult a qualified health practitioner with any questions you may have regarding your health and nutrition program.